Hello, my name is Tom Chivers. I'm the author of London Clay, Journeys in the Deep City, which is out now from Doubleday Books. I'm down here by the River Thames. I'm at one of my favourite locations on the river. It's called Cuckold's Point, and if you can see in the background there's a pole in the river, and that marks the exact spot of Cuckold's Point, which is one of the bends of the river around Rotherhithe. And these river stairs that I'm actually on now are called the Horn Stairs, so called because they were the terminus of a kind of ancient folk custom called the Horn Dance that came from Charlton. And it's one of my favourite places on the river because it's a great place to mudlark, and that's one of the things that I enjoy doing in my spare time. London Clay is not about mudlarking, but what it is about is the city and what lies beneath your feet, starting from the geology of London. And what I find in 8 journeys across the city are lost rivers, islands, former islands in the marshlands of Bermondsey and Westminster. I find geological mysteries, anomalies and glitches in places like the Elephant Castle and King's Cross. It's all about stripping back the city we know, the pavements and the tube stations and so on, and finding this kind of natural history of London. London Clay is also a very personal book. I write about growing up in South London, the experiences of losing a parent young, and I also write about some of the places that I've lived and worked in, such as Aldgate and Rotherhithe. It's not so much a guidebook as a lyrical meditation on cities and landscape. I'm going to be giving a reading at Stanford's in central London on the 28th of September, accompanied by the brilliant Matt Brown, founder of Londonist.com, author and fellow map obsessive. I used to go up to Stanford's when I was a kid, and it's a great honour to be reading there. It's fair to say that maps were pretty important when I was writing and researching London Clay, because although I was doing a huge amount of walking through landscapes as varied as the River Lee and Hampstead Heath and Pimlico, I relied a great deal to find out the history of these places on maps such as the Argus map of the mid-16th century and the 1746 map by John Rock, the Huguenot refugee and cartographer. And I also made my own maps. In fact, the entire project began with a Collins Street Finder, which I bought about 7 years ago, and began then to modify by scrawling the geological strata of London on top of the street plan and seeing what stories emerged. And indeed, every chapter in London Clay begins with a mystery that emerges from that strange modified Street Finder map. So I look forward to seeing you at Stanford's in central London on the 28th of September with Matt Brown. And once again, my book is called London Clay, Journeys in the Deep City.